Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great weekend. We certainly are. We had a strong day of open houses yesterday, being the 25th, so a month until Christmas, and now being the 26th, being a month under till Christmas. So we sold 2 yesterday, so there's people looking to move in prior to Christmas, which is a good sign. So I still believe the market will run up until Christmas, and January will be very, very quiet. So still plenty of people looking to purchase a home and be in by Christmas, or have their plans settled, so they'll be ready to go and move into a new home in the new year if they can't get in time. So today's topic, I'll get straight to it. Why some streets are worth more than some, or some parts of suburbs are worth more. Now look, the first thing is, some streets are worth more. There's the simple explanation that some have got like city views, some have got views like, say there's some on the river, they may be worth more than ones that aren't on the river in suburbs like Chelmer or something like that. For example, in Paddington, where I am, there might be ones that are worth more with large city views or really good local views. They may be worth more than the ones that are on main roads. So that's pretty common sense. So I think, there's a few streets in your suburb, and look, to be brutally honest, a lot of the time I find it's local knowledge or people have done a lot of research into it, but usually the ones that sell in those streets that are highly sought after will come from in the suburbs, so they may be locals. So for example, in Paddington, they may be looking at something like Howard Street or Garfield Drive, or something like that, or Elizabeth Street, which is down near Rosalie. They're just examples that they may be wanting to look for it to upgrade to a house in that street. So most commonly, those streets that get higher amounts are from people that will be buying or transacting up and actually, buying up into the suburb. And, we've done many transactions where someone that, will come along to us and say, look, if a house comes up in Howard Street or Thomas Street or something, they will look, that will put a benefit on that property, or make that property worth a lot more. So there is differences in suburbs as well. So there's parts of, as I'm only referring to what the marketplace I'm in, which is Paddington. There may be parts of Paddington that are more highly sought after, and you get a lot more people to than other parts. So when doing your research when buying, I would highly recommend to look at these parts. And so that's just not looking at this has all come about by looking at the median house prices. So, there was an article yesterday in the Courier Mail about the median house prices, and I think there was 30 suburbs with a median house price of $1 million or more. And that can vary, go to streets. Some streets, the median house price might be more than that, might be less than that. So just make sure you do your research. But it's mainly to do with location, views, and the situation of the street. So, and then again, parts of suburbs, there might be a school that everyone wants to go to. So, not the whole suburb isn't in the same school catchment. There might be parts of Paddington that are in one school catchment, and parts of Paddington that are in another. So it just all depends, what the buyer's after. But definitely have a look into that. And as I said, it usually comes from someone that's already in the suburb that knows a highly desirable street. So that's why there is a variance. Why it's important, I'll touch why it's important, because I think, some of these streets that, and again, you might even look at Chelmer, for example, and Laurel Avenue, that's beautiful, tree-lined street on the river. You might see, not many houses transact on streets like that, or not many that come on the river that are a large lot, or, you might find in, Howard Street, Paddington, that there might be not a large block that comes on the market. So these ones are rare properties, and I think, look, if you're looking at the long game, which is something I talk about, and I talk about a lot, I would be, doing anything I can to get that property. I mean, personally, I, sort of stretched myself years ago to buy a few properties in the same vicinity which we're in now, because I know it's going to be a long-term benefit to myself. So I would definitely look at that strategy, and if you can go that little bit extra to get in, because those houses may not come up again, and if they're in a really highly desirable location, there's if there's a little downturn in the market, it might be a good time to look at buying those when you can, because they will be good long-term investments. If they're highly desirable locations or streets, they always are going to be. If they're hard to sell, if your house is a hard house to sell or a hard location, it's probably always going to be a hard one. So you've got to bear in mind when you're looking for investment-wise, as well as your own home, that the good will always be good, and the one that's got a little bit difficult to sell will always be difficult. How I'd use it as a buyer or seller, I've sort of answered that question already. I would be using that with my research, and as I said, I would pay a premium to be in a better location or a more highly sought after street or position in the suburb, just to make sure that you get that. I wouldn't be just buying in the sake of, someone the other day was talking about a suburb and they were on the borderline of the suburb, and it just wasn't, they could afford to actually buy something else, but they were just buying for the sake of a postcode. So by just buying for the sake of a postcode isn't probably the best investment advice, because, as I said, there might be parts of Barden that are better than parts of Paddington, for example. So, but the median house price, if you look at it broadly, the median house price in Paddington is higher than Barden, but it just depends on what you're looking for. So I'd be definitely looking to buy in the premium spots, and going back to Barden, I sell a lot of properties in Barden, and like Rainworth School, I've got one there at the moment, and there's a lot of people that are buying properties just to be in that school. It's just like Milton State School. The catchment that Sam and I personally live in is very highly sought after. So look for those key indicators, which are good streets, tightly held, don't turn over too much. Good parts of suburbs, within walking distance of cafes and restaurants, and school catchments. They're your key criteria. Sam, is there a question?
I've got a question from Mitch.
Hi Mitch, how are you?
If I'm buying a home, how do I find golden nuggets throughout a neighbourhood?
Yeah, Mitch. So Mitch has asked how he finds golden nuggets throughout a neighbourhood. Research, Mitch. Keep on researching, and as I said, I find that the better properties are usually bought with someone that's already in the suburb and knows the better streets, and they may have been going for their morning walk, and then all of a sudden a property comes up. Like I ran into a couple last weekend, and they were on their morning walk, and a property came up that was highly sought after, and they decided to buy it and actually bought it. So it tends to be more locals that go for those ones. So just make sure. But if you're an outsider and you're looking for that that golden nugget, it's just research, and that research would take a fair bit of time. Look, if you dropped me, I don't know, in Corinda, or if you dropped me over the other side of town where I didn't know, look, let's say Wynnum or Manly, those sort of suburbs where I know Lane, who watches this a fair bit. If you dropped me over there, I wouldn't have a clue what the good streets are, what attracts a higher price, for me to do a development, for example. I wouldn't know which are the better streets. So I guess you got to do your research and do it well, because you wouldn't want to buy a street and then find out that it's full of, look at maybe full of rental properties, and there's no problem with a lot of rental properties, but it might affect the resale if there's a lot of unrenovated houses that are just owned by investors that are not going to spend any money on them. So Mitch, to answer your question, do your research, take your time with that, and make sure that you buy correctly. And that's the best advice I can give you if you don't know the suburb that well. So guys, look, that about covers us up for today. There's only a few more, or 4 more weeks, I think, until Christmas realistically, so just under 30 days. So I hope everyone has a great week. Summer starts next week, which is great, and then we're in for a big run until Christmas, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of property sold. So I hope everyone has a good week. Thank you.